Hello everyone, it's Lisa from Epic Yarn Gems. Today I am going to be showing you how to make a corner to corner baby blanket. This method of making a blanket, the corner to corner or C2C, can be used for many different things. I have seen that the corner to corner technique is used in making Grafgans, I believe is what it's called. I have never tried one, but once you've mastered this technique, there's a lot of other things you can make more than just a baby blanket. The yarn I use was Premier Yarn Bloom. This is the first time I have used this yarn. It is a light 3 weight and I use my G hook, which is a 4.25. To get us started, we are going to start with a slip knot. Do that however works best for you. This is just the way I do it. And then what we are going to do is just a standard chain 6. So we are going to do 6 chains all the way up. And then once we get to our 6th chain, we are going to go back to the 4th chain from the hook and we're going to put a double crochet into that 4th chain. After you have completed this double crochet in those last 2 chains, you are going to put a double crochet in both of those. So you're going to yarn over, go into the chain, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over again, pull through the first 2 loops on your hook, then yarn over and pull through the last 2 hooks. Easy for me to say, right? And this is the start of your corner to corner. You will be making this not in back and forth rows, but in this increasing pattern. So once you've done that, this is step 1. You're going to chain 6 again, and then you are going to do exactly what you did the first time. You are going to go into the 4th chain from the hook, and you are going to put a double crochet into that chain. And by doing this, what you have now created is a chain 3 area on the end. It used to be the chain 6 until you went into that 4th chain from the hook. Then what you're going to do is you're going to put double crochets in the next 2 chains. After you do that, you have 2 little clusters here of 3 double crochets and a chain 3 at the end. Remember that chain 3 was made from that chain 6, and then we went into the 4th hook, which left over the 3. So where you are going to join them, this is the big trick to corner to corner. You are not going to put it in the space right next to where the double crochet is. You're actually going to go into that opening that was made from that chain 6, which is now your chain 3. And you're going to do a slip knot. That's how you're going to join. From here, you're going to do a chain 3. After the chain 3, in that exact same opening on the end, that was that chain 3, you're going to do 3 double crochets right into that same area. And this is going to create your next cluster in the corner to corner. So the first corner was one of the clusters. Your next row, if you want to call them that, would be 2 of those clusters. So after you finish those 3 double crochets, you're at the end of this row. And at the end of each row, what you're going to do is you're going to chain 6. So you're going to go right back to that first step. So here we're going to do our chain 6. We're going to go into the 4th chain from the hook, which is going to make that opening for that chain 3 that we're going to be using later. And we're going to do a double crochet in there. Then again, just another repeat here, is you're going to do double crochets in the next 2 chains of that chain 6. When you get done with this, you're going to have this little cluster that's kind of hanging off your work a little bit. And the big thing here is when you have something like that, you're going to have to join it. So there you can see it's kind of hanging off to the side. It doesn't look like much, but we're going to go into that chain 3 area of the cluster right next to it and do a chain 3, 3 double crochets in that opening. Then what you're going to do is you have right next to it another cluster of those 3 stitches. There it is. And we're going to go into that opening that was the chain 3. How we join? Slip knot. Then we're going to do a chain 3 and we're going to put 3 double crochets into that same opening. So now your row has 3 of these clusters. And you're probably seeing the pattern here. It just gets bigger and bigger and it's building kind of sideways. So you can see it's kind of like a staircase. So at the end of the row, we're going to repeat back to step 1. We're going to do that chain 6. We're going to go into the 4th chain from the hook. So let's count it back. In that 4th chain, we are going to put a double crochet. In our next 2 chains, we're going to do double crochets. Now we got that little swatch hanging off there a little bit, not connected to anything, so we need to connect it to our work. To do that, you are just going to turn your work a little bit and you're going to join it with that chain 3 area right next to it. You're going to go into the front. So here we are, you're going to just flip it over and you're going to go in through the front. And that's how you're going to do all of these. You're always going to go into the front on the increases. So again, we did a slip stitch and we did a chain 3, 3 double crochets into that same area. Going to connect that baby up to the rest of our work, and we're going to find the next chain 3 area going up the stairs, if you want to say, and there it is right there. Going to do a slip stitch. I might have said slip knot earlier, but it is a slip stitch. Chain 3, and then what comes next? The 3 double crochets in that same opening. So this is your increasing, and you are going to do this to your desired size of a blanket. So what you want to do is you want to measure how long the length and the height or width is, and when you get to that point, that's what you're going to do. For this blanket, what I did is I made a square blanket. You can do a rectangle, but for this demonstration, I'm doing a square. So as you continue to add to this, you are going to just build, it looks like a staircase. So you start off with 1 stair, your next row is 2, 3, 4, 5, and so forth. And the reminder is when you're at the end of the row, just make sure you do that chain 6 to start the next row. Alright, so a couple tips and specifics about this blanket. I did 54 increased rows, and that made a blanket of 35 inches length and width. Also, this bloom yarn, I really loved it. It wasn't very splitty at all. I'll be doing a review on this. But the one thing I want to let you know is that in there it's a self-striping, and you can probably see the striping in there a little bit in the finished product. There was not enough of the striping to do a complete row once I got going. So I had to constantly be cutting the yarn and getting that striping row and adding it back in. And it was a challenge, but I think it was worth it. It turned out pretty good. But I just wanted to make some of those notes so that you knew that. So once you get to the desired length that you want, you're going to need to do decreases. So here is my last row that I'm doing. So there's 2, I'm sorry, this is the last row of my 54 that I was doing. So once you get to this point and you're at the end and you're wanting to go back the other way, you're going to do a slip stitch in that chain 3 area, but rather than doing the chain 6 like we normally were doing for the decrease, you're going to do a chain 1 and turn your work. Then you are going to do slip stitches in the next 3 stitches down the side. This is just to make that corner. So you can see I've made the corner here. And now again, what we're going to do is we're going to go into those chain 3 areas, starting with a slip stitch. Then we are going to do a chain 3, and in that same opening, we're going to put 3 double crochets. And this is a very similar pattern because you have been doing it all the way through the increases. So again, you're going to go into that chain 3 opening, slip stitch, do a chain 3, and then 3 double crochets into that same opening, and you're going to go on to the next opening. And one way that you can tell how these line up is if you're looking at the double crochets, some of them will go horizontally if you're holding it up and down, and some of them will go vertically. And you're always going to want a horizontal next to a vertical. You're not going to want the stitches to be, all horizontal or all vertical. If you've done that, you've probably turned your work somewhere around. So just keep that in mind as you are working on this blanket. And you can see this once it is laid out, how those stitches go together. It's kind of like a cross pattern. Like I said, vertical 3, horizontal 3, and repeat. So we are going to continue these decreased steps all the way until you get to the very end of this row. And when you get there, what you are going to do is the exact same thing you did to start this row. So you are going to, here I'm finishing up the last double crochet, and we're at the end of the row, and we're going to do that slip stitch, and that's the join, and chain 1. Now we're going to turn our work again, and now we are going to go up the side with slip stitches. So in those next 3 stitches, you are just going to slip stitch up until you get to that chain 3 area. There you will do another slip stitch, chain 3, and 3 double crochets into that opening. And that is really the entire repeat for this decrease. Once you get to that last stitch, you aren't going to put your cluster of 3 double crochets. You are just going to slip stitch, chain 1, and turn your work. Do the 3 slip stitches down the side and start another decrease. So that is how that works. So we are here at the very end of our blanket. And you are just going to finish off here with that slip stitch. I did a chain 1, and then what I'm sorry, let's finish this before I get ahead of myself. So I did the chain 1, and then I am going to do the slip stitches up the side into each of those 3 stitches that are on the side. It makes for a pretty smooth looking edging. I'm going to put a border on this eventually. I just haven't decided which border I'm going to put on. But when you're doing this, it actually has a pretty good looking edge. You may not even need a border if you don't want one. And you're finishing off with that slip stitch, chain 3, 3 double crochets in that opening, that chain 3 opening, and you are just going to finish that off, and you are going to connect this last little cluster of 3 to the side, and that has closed off your blanket or whatever you're working on. And you're just going to do that with a slip stitch. So there you go. The puzzle is complete. It has finished off, and there's your slip stitch. You can cut your yarn off here. What I did is I did a chain 1 and I turned, and I just went back down the side just to smooth that out. Very versatile stitch, very versatile technique. I hope you have enjoyed this video, and once you get the hang of this, you will be able to do so many different projects. I'm going to be using it more than I have. This is only the second time I've made a blanket or anything with this technique, but once I got rolling, it was really easy to do. So I'm loving it. I hope you're loving it. And let me know how it goes. Show me some of the creations that you make, or just drop by and leave me a comment. This is the finished blanket. Like I said, 35 by 35. Thanks again for joining me. As always, peace, love, and happiness to you all. Stay safe out there, and until next time.